Okay, so I am back, and I'm going to continue on. After the last one, she was satisfied with her location and she took it off her pack and rummaged for a trap. The mechanisms, built of thinly secured wire and jagged plates, consisted of crude combinations of old world machine parts with hinges, clips, and other objects. No two traps were alike. It took some imagination, but she eventually manipulated all the pieces into working parts. The trap she liked the most she made from broken, serrated metal. She'd traded a man for those materials some moons back. Finding the right pieces when she needed them wasn't easy, but she made do. Dropping to her knees, she sank an inch into the muck with a grimace and set the trap into position. She tore apart a small bit of dried fish as bait, then steadying her hand, she primed it. She wiped the moisture that dripped from her forehead with the back of her shirt sleeve, then moved further into the mangroves to set another. By the time Alma finished setting her traps, darkness fell. Apprehension kept her moving slowly and with caution. Silently, Alma worked her way back to a place she would use as an encampment, tucking herself out of sight deep under cover of the mangroves. The tickle of her senses stopped her, and she peered into the gloomy marshes in search of anything amiss. The feeling made her skin crawl up the back of her neck and urged her to look behind herself in the dark. Her pulse quickened. Her intuition never let her down. Alma was sure that she was being hunted. Listening hard, she felt safe enough at the moment. Popping open her bag, Alma went through her belongings, stuffing a flavorless piece of fatty fish jerky in her mouth. She organized what few weapons she possessed. She would build no fire, not with her senses on high alert, and not with something lurking in the shadows. Where are you? She didn't want to know what hid in the dark, but she also knew knowing was better than being oblivious. At least then she'd be able to find a way to deal with the danger. She pulled out her scythe, mech, and hunting knife, set them to the side, shoved another piece of jerky into her mouth, and chased it with a gulp of water, and packed everything up. Tonight isn't going to be easy. Oma located a spot to sit, with two thick mangroves to her back, and rested her pack between her legs. Positioning took care of one direction. Her positioning took care of one direction. The rest would be up to her to watch. Whew, that was hard to read. Buckling her knife on the front of her bag, she picked up the scythe mech. She paid an exuberant price in junk she'd salvaged for the fancy weapon. Made from a 10-inch half of a cog and sharpened to a thick point on the tip, the scythe mech folded in half so it could be easily stored. When the pole extended, it reached a good 4 feet and made for a versatile weapon, having saved her skin many times. Setting it across her lap, she leaned back and honed her senses to listen. Something came for her, and if she tried hard enough, she thought she could hear it, or them. Is there more than one? Alma's hand slid to rest on the weapon as the corner of her eye twitched with apprehension. She blew out a breath, puffing hair out of her eyes in agitation. The sounds of movement came clear to her then. Several of something thrashed through the mangroves, no longer attempting to hide their passage. Alma realized what they were when a familiar grunt and squeal pierced the night. Mutants, of course. They were coming right at me. She'd battled with them in the past. Their fur grew into impenetrable armor plates, and she knew from experience she'd need to strike at the organic flesh between their hard parts to kill them. They hunted in packs and would attempt to surround her. The trees at her back provided some defense, but on her own, she'd have to use every trick she knew to survive. Mutants were not only brutes, but fast, intelligent, and masterful in taking down prey. Her grip tightened on the scythe mech, and the fingers of her other hand slid securely around the hilt of her blade. Alma was cunning in battle. She'd held her own against many formidable adversaries though the twinge of anxiety was always present before a fight. I hope I'm fast enough this time, or it could be my last stand. As the first mutant came into view, she raised into a crouch, slipped her knife free of its sheath, and flicked it with practiced agility. With lightning speed, she sent the bolt of steel flying toward the opening in the brush, but she didn't have time to see it hit its mark. A clawed paw clenched at the tree right behind her, boring deep grooves into its bark. Alma flinched just in time to avoid losing her head. Swinging her scythe neck backwards in an arc, she sliced the paw cleanly from the beast's arm. Its blood spattered across the clearing. A raging howl exploded from the mutant as it pulled away. Its mangled paw fell to the ground beside her. Twisting around, she brought her weapon to bear on its brethren, who advanced right in front of her. Excuse me. Ugh, I'm not going to fare well. There's too many of them. Her eyes darted in no real cover. At least 6 beasts stalked her. One was dead from her knife, or so she hoped, and another wounded. The remaining 4 circled, taking their time, knowing she wasn't going anywhere. You're going to wait me out, aren't you? I have to do something. With her scythe neck extended, Oma slowly stood, trying to watch from every direction. She'd have to draw them in. Balancing herself, she jumped to the left. Come at me, she shrieked. One of the beasts skittered out of the way as the others scrambled to rush her from behind. Her blade swept out, catching one that had ventured too close. The motion jarred Oma's arm and shoulder, but she refused to let go of the scythe. The weapon was her lifeline and her only chance to win the battle for her life. The sounds of the mutant's frenzied bellows penetrated the air, and adrenaline pumped through her system as she went on the attack. The creatures fell back at her approach, circling and swiping as she continued to wield her weapon. Several swings of her neck landed at the soreness as the soreness grew in her arms with each new connection. The beasts bled, but they were hungry and undeterred, only becoming braver with every second. They would wear her down. Oma knew it and couldn't change her plight. She scrambled out from cover, trying to judge which direction they would come at her from. One snapping maw ducked under her blade, knocking her off balance as she scurried, attempting to right herself. The closest mutant received a scythe neck to the throat. Blood sprayed her fingers and arms, leaving them sticky and slick. Unprotected, her footing teetered, precarious within the tangled roots of the mangrove trees. Oma yelled as she stumbled. She struggled to detach her weapon as it caught in the flailing beast's metal plates. Tumbling to the ground, she yanked the weapon clear, brandishing it before her. This is it, the mistake I couldn't afford to make. She found herself more disappointed than scared. Death was inevitable, but Oma never wanted to experience failure. The sounds of crashing penetrated her fear as an ominous shadow detached itself from the trees next to her. The hulking form burst into battle as the beast snarled in frustration, scattering in all directions. Disentangling her from the roots, Oma pushed herself back to her feet, trying to make sense of the scene before her. The form swiftly spun and darted, swinging its fist, bashing into the mutants and sending them flying into the surrounding brush. The beast realized they didn't stand a chance against this mysterious new foe. The rest scattered, leaving their fallen comrades behind. As quickly as it began, the fight was over. Oma shook, surprised to still be alive. Who the hell is he? Oma raised her scythe blade and pointed it toward the man before her, except she wasn't sure he was a man at all. Clouded in a dark haze, he had long claws that descended from pitch-black fingertips. They matched a mane of the same hue hanging loose to his waist. His bare torso showed a toned, human-looking body. Don't even think about it, Oma warned through gritted teeth as he turned her way. His face was partially hidden inside his cowl, yet she saw him smile from the white flash of his sharp teeth. Whatever or whoever you are, turn around and go back to where you came from. Her voice rang thick with warning. Grateful, she sounded as though she did after her close call. Oh, grateful she sounded as tough as she did after her close call. Oma gripped her scythe neck tighter and shook her head, so she still sounds tough. She didn't want to fight the creature, but she would. With a nod of his head, her unlikely savior disappeared as quickly as he came, leaving her completely confused and heaving to catch her breath as the adrenaline subsided. She eyeballed the corpses around the clearing before she went into Orleans to trade. She caught their attention. She'd hoped she had thrown them off as she scavenged the old ruins, but apparently she hadn't. Several lay decaying on the ground, littering the place she'd thought to rest. She hoped that meant the pack would give up after losing their brethren, but she couldn't be sure. Well, this day could have gone worse. She cleaned off her scythe neck and grabbed her pack, then carved a hefty chunk of meat off one of the beasts, feeling lucky to have gained something for her efforts. It wouldn't be a good tasting meal, but it would keep her alive another few days. Despite her initial fear, Oma felt grateful to be breathing. "Thank you, stranger," she whispered into the night before carefully picking her way through the swamps to find a different spot to sleep. Okay, so that's the first chapter, and it is quite the adventure packed book. I loved it. I've read the whole book. It's very, very good. A few twists and turns and surprises, like any good book would have. And it's available on Amazon. I think it's available through Ingram Spark, Walmart.com, all the places that Ingram Spark markets through. And give it a chance. Read it. If you're into sci-fi, it's great. Fantasy, just as great. So, anyway, hopefully next month when I read again, my voice will be better. Maybe my allergies will take a little bit of a break. I am not sure what's going on with Arkansas right now. But everybody be safe, be kind, and be happy. And I'll talk to you next time.